I'm just going to get this out of the way. It's my birthday today. When Jennifer asked me to speak, I was like, oh, on the 30th, huh? I think I can do that. This is a treat for me. So, it's not a secret that kids are happier than adults. I read a neat article about that. It said, just go to any family gathering, any block party, something like this. The kids are having more fun than the adults. Just look around, especially the little ones. And the younger they are, the more fun they seem to be having. So, what's with that? Why does that happen? People can say, well, sure, kids don't have as many responsibilities as adults. They don't have to, worry about bringing home a paycheck or dealing with the government or driving traffic or make compromises for your marriage partner, or any of that stuff. So, of course, they're happier. But according to this guy, Mike Johnson, I thought this was a great point he made. They're happier because they don't have a past. That's the deal. They don't have a past. Adults have a past, and they use it, to determine what their future is going to be and how they're going to feel about their future and what they can do and what they can't and limiting beliefs and everything. If you don't have a past, it's pretty good. You don't have much baggage. Adults remember these hurts. They remember what happened last time, and it colors their future. So his answer is, to be happy like a child, you just need amnesia. That's the answer. I don't remember what happened. If you didn't remember, then you could be open to what was coming up. It's not that easy to have amnesia, though. I do think that young children are the best teachers, and they are accessing this love. It's the same love that's there for all of us, but they really do access it, especially when they're very young. I remember once I went over my sister's house when she had her first baby, and I think she was about a few months old, and she couldn't walk, she couldn't do anything except lie on the bed, except that she could kick her feet. So we're over there at night, and she's just on the bed. And all of a sudden she goes around like a little, she's buzzing around the bed like this, kicking her feet and moving like this. I was like, what's with that? What is she doing? He says, oh no, she does that. She just likes to do this, she's having fun. Isn't that cool? She learned how to kick, and then she learned how to be mobile, and she was sort of moving herself around the bed. And so it's right in you from the very beginning to have fun. It was just fun for her to kick her feet like that. Part of what you can do, though, and today I'm really going to talk about some practical things we can do to get back in touch with that childhood joy, because it really is important. Part of what you can do is try this as an experiment. Close your eyes right now, okay? This is partly so you don't have to feel embarrassed anybody else looking at you, okay? Close your eyes, and now put a big smile on your face, a big cheesy smile. Now, cheesy, smile, like this, okay? And just force your cheeks open, cheese, smile. Okay, now open your eyes. How you feel? That's a good trick. They say you can put a pencil in your mouth, yeah. But sometimes I do that. I'm in the shower, and I just make myself smile for the whole time I'm in there. And it does change your mood. It's sending a message to your brain that you're happy. And so you are. It works both ways. In my experience working with couples for all these years, and I've worked with so many couples, and what I find is the same is true about little kids, is that when you're little and you're accessing that joy, you're doing things and saying things that are reinforcing the joy and keeping it going. After you're married for a while, you don't realize that you've stopped doing the very things that you used to do when you were in love. And if you start doing them again, you actually pick up the love again. So when you're first with a person, you want to be with them, you find them fascinating. You want to hear what they have to say. Whatever they want to do, you want to do it. You want to please them if you can. But if you don't keep practicing that, if you don't keep doing that, don't be surprised with the I'm not in love with you feeling comes over you. Because you need to touch. You need to be together. You need to do things together. All the things that you wanted to do in the beginning, you need to kind of keep doing. That's partly what keeps it up, in the same way that the smile makes you happy. So that's partly what I work with couples on. It's like, can you guys do something together? Because if you do something with somebody, you'll feel more love for them. And the same is true about little kids. Most of the work that I've done on communication has to do with sort of studying my kids when they were very little and how happy they were. And it wasn't just that they didn't have a past, it's that they were working through their present by letting themselves feel what they felt. And they didn't care who heard it. And it didn't really care if they were in a department store either. I didn't like that! It's like, whoa! But they would just tell you how they felt, and consequently, they got over things, and then they could reaccess the love. So you can't really have one without the other. You don't just have joy without these other things. But the willingness to let these other things flow through you. I mean, we've been studying this book, The Untethered Soul. It's all about being the witness. It's about allowing yourself to feel whatever it is and not resist it. And when it passes through, you're back in touch with the love again. The joy comes back. So that's kind of a big deal. I think it's an interesting thing that a child will do a cartwheel 1,000 times until they get it. And they don't get it right until they get it, but they just keep doing it. But an adult won't do that. Hey, when you're trying to do a cartwheel, I'll go in the other room, I'm going to practice. And if I can't get it on the third try, I'm not doing it. And that's it. And they quit. But it has to do with past experience. But I noticed that when my kids were starting to walk, I could not believe how many times they fell down. It's like, boom, boom, get up, boom, down. Just, it didn't seem to matter. They were much more interested in where they were going and where they wanted to go than what just happened. I mean, it just sounds absurd, doesn't it? A kid getting depressed. Well, that's it. I'm not getting up again. Every time I get up, I fall down. This is nuts. There's this young kid who got this award. His name is Jack Andraka. He invented a sensor to detect cancer so much earlier than anybody else. It's a simple test that detects the earliest stages of cancer. He was rejected 199 times out of his 200 applications, just asking for lab space. Could I have some lab space? 199 people said no. Just a little high school kid. And one person said yes. But he didn't quit. He just kept applying and applying, and finally some guy let him do it at NIH, and now he has a position there. So I also noticed that there was something about when my kids were little that I could see that they were just looking at me, but they weren't looking at me looking at them. They were very unself-conscious. I used to think, how can you do that? You know, my son would be there and he like have oatmeal dripping from his chin. You know what I mean? And he'd think, you're fascinating. And I'm like, look at you. But it was like, you know, you got oatmeal on your chin. Like, he didn't care. He was like thinking, you're interesting. So I would like you to try this. Look at the person next to you, but like in a fascinated way, like you never looked at him before. But don't look at him looking at you, just look at them, okay? And see what you notice. I think a lot of joy comes back to you when you have a fascination with life and with people. If you just get that people are so interesting, not just applied to a standard, not just something based on your past, but just how interesting they are. And you could see things in them that you didn't notice before. Sometimes I do this at night. Lauren likes to read in bed, and I don't know, I'm just antsy all the time. And I'm like, she says, can you just sit there? And just, and I'm like, so I just like look at her hands. I'm like, you have really neat hands. Like, shh. But it's, but that I do find like things like fascinating, and it's kind of a neat orientation to take of just finding things and people, and isn't that interesting? I know that years ago I heard this expression, which was that the truth is obviously what's so, right? The truth is what's so. Not so obviously, the truth is so what? Yeah, so what? So what? So something's going on, yeah, that's what's so, but what about so what? Like it doesn't mean anything. And that's another thing from childhood, that it doesn't mean anything to them. When a child looks at their grandparent and they have this love for them, you can tell, so what that they're old? You know, so what that they're wrinkly? So what? You love them anyway. So I just think that's a great sort of attitude. Because what we do is we put so much meaning on things that when you see something and immediately judge it, you see something and you immediately make it mean something, it pulls you away from the experience. But if you have kind of a radical acceptance of it, if it's just going to be, I'm just going to accept what I see. I mean, I see this with Lauren and the cats. Our cats just throw up, okay? They eat and then they throw up sometimes. And my reaction is, you know, they just threw up. And I see Lauren just go like, oh, you threw up. Okay, so she just cleans it up. It becomes like a big so what. That's how you are with babies, aren't you? They throw up all the time. It's like, okay, you do the best you can, but it's like part of the way it works is that you're accepting that what's happening is what's happening, and that's okay. And I think that lasts you all through your life, that it doesn't have to be a big deal. The things that I find so upsetting could all be seen as, so what? And then just sort of restores you back to your equilibrium, back to your balance. I think that there's something also joyous about the meanings that children put to things. When you're an adult, it's great to see that whatever upsets them is not really a big deal, and that's part of your job, is that you reflect that it's okay. It's actually okay. Like, this happens to everybody. You know, it's not a big, you know, it's kind of a reassurance that you can give. And it's a very beautiful thing. I remember, I made this stuff. I make up so much stuff, but when I was little, my mother would bring up, in the spring around this time, she would bring up this kind of camp chest. Remember those chests you bring, it has like a little tray in it, and you can put clothes in it. Anyway, she would bring up this whole chest of clothes, and in it would be all of our summer clothes. It would be shorts and short sleeve shirts. And I thought that was the coolest thing. And my brother and I used to go, short pants? Oh man, we're gonna, because we thought, honestly, we believed that you could run faster if you had shorts on. And it's like, I would put these pants on and run all over the house. You see? It works. You put these short pants on, you can really run. And I was like, it was nuts looking back on it, like, no, it doesn't. But it seemed like it at the time, and I was so excited, you know? It just seemed like a great idea. And I see that we like put little things together in our heads, and some of them make us feel good, and some of us don't. So it's sort of like a choice about what do you want to make something mean. One time we had this little cabinet in my basement, and it was like a built-in thing, and you picked it up, and inside of it was all my father's World War II memorabilia. He had some old rifle in there, and his Navy hat. He was a lieutenant in the Navy. And my mother overhears me telling my friend, you see this eagle insignia here? He says, yeah. He says, you know why that's there? I said, why? He says, because my dad was an Eagle Scout. My mother pulls me aside and says, Jimmy, what did you just say over there? Says, no, that's just the Navy signal, it's insignia. I think that's on every hat. I just was positive. I just put that together. My dad's an Eagle Scout, and so of course when he got the hat, they put the eagle in there. It is a wonderful feeling, though, when you're a child, to have an experience that your parents are your backstop. That they can, this is part of what allows you to feel joy, is to feel safe. And not everybody has this as a child. But if you do have an experience of that, I remember I went on a ski trip with my folks, and I hurt myself the first day, so I couldn't ski after that. And so I was staying. Luckily, we had some friends nearby in Massachusetts, and I was staying with them for the day. And their little son, who was younger than I was trying to put together a very difficult model ship. And he couldn't do it, and I tried to help him with it, and I couldn't do it, and I thought it was broken and stuff. And he looked at me and said, when my dad gets home, he's going to be able to fix this. And with absolute confidence. I thought, no, he's not. It's like, and sure enough, his father came home that afternoon and just sort of like, and fixed it. And the kid looked at me like, did I tell you? Just like, now, of course, we all get disillusioned later, and you find out your father's not perfect and all that stuff, but that's such a wonderful thing to have somebody who's for you, who will help you. It allows you, it's all the things that you can do to allow this flow of joy to keep happening, is to be in that environment, to create that environment for someone else. You can't always do it, but I know that what you say is really the most important. What you tell yourself, what you believe. Even if it's not what everything else is telling you, even if it's not what your own senses are telling you, it's what you tell yourself that really matters. And while it's terrific to have wonderful parents, and while it's terrific to feel safe, many of us have had experiences where we got hurt, and we felt neglected and abandoned and abused, and all kinds of things happen from less than enlightened parents. But it doesn't mean we can't access the childhood joy. And part of it is because it is our nature. So the more we get in touch with our nature, the more we'll access this joy. And by doing some of the things that children do, like playing, it's really important to play. And it's really important to rest. And it's really important to meditate. I love what Deepak Chopra told his children when they were growing up. He said, I only have 2 requirements of you. Learn how to meditate and figure out what you love. That's it. And if what you love doesn't make you a living, I'll support you for the rest of your life. You just do what you love, and I'll pay for it. As it turns out, all those kids became doctors and lawyers. They needed support, but I thought that was a cool thing. Just learn how to meditate and figure out what you love and do that, and I'll support you in that. So we do have this thing that we can tap into by meditating, by being in touch with what we love, by being fascinated by what we see. And here's another thing you can do. There are things nowadays that are much more effective than they used to be that help you complete your past. Sometimes it's therapy, sometimes it's techniques and emotional freedom technique. I don't know if you've heard of tapping, but you can actually release some of these old things that keep the beliefs in place and keep the body tense and tight, and thereby access your joy again. You can work on yourself. You can find where this joy went to. It's still there. It's still alive and well, and it's in you. And there are places where it comes out. Interestingly, years ago, I learned how to meditate. This is a really long time ago, 71. That was one of the first TMers. Back then, they were selling the mantra for $15. How far we've come. Anyway, but I remember just the appeal was it that you could just be happy. I thought, that sounds great. You could just meditate and be happy. And I would go into these rooms where they were having this experience called satsang. It meant the company of truth. It's an Indian tradition. And someone's getting up there and they're talking about their experience of meditation or something like this. And I'm sitting in the audience, and I'm thinking, this is bull. I don't buy this. I don't believe that. I'm just judging and thinking and judging. And I'm older than most of these people anyway. I'm getting my PhD. So we're all packed into this room. And at the end of the meeting, I felt joyous. And I could not make any sense out of it. I thought, now this is weird. I didn't agree with a single thing I heard, and why am I so happy? And I couldn't stop smiling. I had this like, I thought, whoa, what is going on here? What's happening? So it turns out that the very nature of who we are, of what we're tapping into, is that joy itself. That's what the kids have. And you can have that again. And I believe that that's why I actually kept coming to Unity. I started to feel that here. I sat in these seats, and I had my judgments. I don't know, Unity Church, whatever. And then at the end, I felt happy. That's for me. So you have to have happiness as a priority. I think in the book, The Untethered Soul, he said, the only really important question in life to ask yourself is, do I want to be happy? That's it. Do I want to be happy? And that means unconditionally, no matter what. It's a choice to be happy. And so we're presented with a lot of things, but where we put our focus and how we place our meaning and the decision we make to be happy has a lot to do with accessing this joy. I've had this experience with my father, who's 95, which is the most beautiful thing. I cannot tell you how my relationship with him has done a complete 180. When I was growing up, he was very gruff, and he wasn't particularly emotionally, you couldn't hug him or anything. He was angry a lot, and he scared me. And he didn't hit us, but he was harsh. And it's like, is he home? I was like, oh. And I was always afraid of him. And then later when I got older, I was always arguing with him. And the two of us butted heads all the time. And there's been such a change in our relationship. It's just love now. And the interesting thing is, I don't tell him this, but I'm like his father now. It's so strange. As he's gotten older and older, he comes to me for help. He said, Jimmy, can you get on the computer with me? The printer's not working. Okay? So I get on there, and he's like, I say, oh my God, that's me, unmanaged ADD. He has hit the printer button 8 times. And it's all stacked up in the things. Like, all these printing jobs. It's broken. Printer's broken, And I get to reassure him. I'm like, no, it's probably not that. We can handle it. All of a sudden, I'm like Mr. Calm. And I just handle the problems, and he's very grateful, and he goes on his way. And he's happier now than I've ever seen him. And yet he's so limited. He can hardly walk, and but he downloads his little Netflix movie every day and writes a little review for himself and keeps it in a little notebook. And at 90, he decided to join the choir. And he's singing, and the other day, he wants to sing these songs to me over the phone. It is so precious. And so he's singing this, put another nickel in there. All these. And I just listen to it like a proud parent. It's like, that's my boy. It's so sweet, I can't tell you. It's just so beautiful. And he's really grateful. And I see him just choosing to be happy at 95. The cool thing around him is people around there are living to 100, so I can see he's kind of set his mark on that. Like, can be done. His belief is that he could do it, But it's very sweet. It's very sweet. So in summary, here are some things that you can do to keep this flow going, to access the love and the creativity and the fun that children have. Of course, first, choose to be happy no matter what. Make up meanings that make you feel good. I don't know, felt good for me to tell my friend my father has that thing on his head because he's an Eagle Scout. As much as you can, forget the past or work on completing it. Here's another thing. Change your posture to one that makes you feel joy and power. Stand up straight and smile and find people fascinating when you look at them. Imagine a bright future and look forward to it. I have a partner in business, and he's always telling us that we're going to be billionaires. He lives in the stratosphere. Doesn't get much done on this level, but he can see it. He can see it. We're going to be rich. And it's exciting to be around him. focus on what you like. There's so much not to like, and there's so much to be worried on, but just focus on what you like. This guy, Mike Johnson, who wrote this thing about kids are happier than adults, he said, "If we awoke with no memory of the past, or merely the ability to detach ourselves from it, we'd then be totally free to take any action we wanted today. There'd be no fear of duplicating past pains. In short, the invisible bars we navigate within would lift, and we'd be free to try anything again, like allowing ourselves to enjoy the natural and effortless happiness of a child." I just want to finish this off with a song that my father sang to me the other night. I thought it was very sweet. And this will be it. Fairy tales can come true. It can happen to you when you're young at heart. For it's hard, you will find, to be narrow of mind when you're young at heart. You can go to extremes with impossible schemes. You can laugh when your dreams fall apart at the seams, and life gets more exciting with each passing day, and love is either in your heart or on its way. Don't you know that it's worth every treasure on earth to be young at heart? For as rich as you are, you're much better by far if you're young at heart. And if you should survive to 105, look at all you derive out of being alive. Oh, and here is the best part: you have a head start. If you are among the very young at heart, if you are among